Welcome to Talking Knocks, presented by the PewterCast. I am Brent Allen, your host. This is the finale show to Talking Knocks, following the finale to Hard Knocks on HBO, featuring our beloved Buccaneers. With me, as always, is my co-host, Ren Daxt, who is sandbagging himself into the house right now in preparation for this crazy storm that we're about to get. Ren, man, how's it going down there in St. Pete?
It's not bad. Honestly, I've never seen the state of Florida. I've lived here my whole life, and I've never seen the state of Florida prep so early for a hurricane. I think social media has a lot to do with it.
Yeah.
And just how, beastly this storm is. It's like 400 miles across, and the eye's like perfect, and it's got, 185 miles per hour wind next to the eye wall. And no one's losing it, but, water is a big thing down here right now. Like, no one has it for sale.
Yeah. I've heard that they're out of gas, like, from Naples south right now. Like, you can't even find gasoline, like, at the gas stations. So, and I can tell you, it's pretty much the same up in Jacksonville. You can't find water right now in this town. We managed to get a couple 5-gallon jugs of it, and we've been emptying out whatever we can find here, just going ahead and filtering out some water and storing it. So, but with that, of course, the big news I think surrounding that is going to be that we may or may not be playing a football game this Sunday.
Well, I don't think we'll be playing this Sunday. Who knows? It's still up in the air. I think we'll find out tomorrow morning pretty early.
Yeah.
So depending when you are in the United States, when you wake up, it may or may not be out. But, enough of that stuff. Let's talk about Hard Knocks.
Yeah, let's talk about Hard Knocks. Real quick, I want to give a shout-out to everybody who is joining us in the chat room. They're at mixler.com/thepewtercast. This is our InstantCast platform. Lots of people over in the chat room tonight. You guys are welcome to carry on a conversation. We'll do our best to pull that in. This is a Hard Knocks after show. We all just got done watching Hard Knocks on HBO, the East Coast airing anyway, and that was the finale episode. This is the finale of Talking Knocks. You guys are going to be welcome to call in. We'll go ahead and open up the phone lines right now. You guys can call in. We'll talk about anything you want to talk about from this episode and really the whole season of Hard Knocks. We'll talk about anything that you want. We've certainly got a list of things that we'll be talking about throughout the course of the evening. We'll be here for about the next hour or until you guys stop calling in, whichever one comes first. So, or later, I guess. So you guys do that. The phone number is 864-729-BUCKS. That's 864-729-2827. Ren, while we're waiting on that first phone call, I will remind everybody this is a PG-13 show. We do like people to be able to, listen to the show in the car with their kids, not have to worry too much about it. But we're not going to hold you too fast to that. But this is a PG-13 show, so please watch your language as you call in. But with that, Ren, man, I'll toss it to you first. Just kind of, what about some overall thoughts on the finale of Hard Knocks tonight?
Okay, one caveat to start out with. I missed the first 15 minutes, honestly. Ooh. I was laying in bed with my girl, and we're talking about where to get sandbags and, when we should go get, fill off the gas tank in case, we leave the state type of stuff. Uh-huh. And I look up, and it's like 10:10. So I ran over and turned it on real quick. When I came in, it was Jameis at the trainer's table talking about how football means everything to him. Uh-huh. So everything before that, I didn't see. So there's a caveat. But after that, I really wasn't expecting too much drama. But that last piece with, Bobo and Jerry McNichols, I was pleasantly surprised because when at first they offered the practice spot, I'm like, well, then what happened? Like, I actually said that out loud. I'm like, well, then what happened? Like, why aren't you on the practice squad? Mm-hmm. And we came to find out, the story behind that. McNichols, I guess, without sugarcoating, basically got his feelings hurt. He said he had a chip on his shoulder. There we go.
Right. Yeah, keep that in mind because we'll definitely talk about that here. Let's see here. You are on with us at Hard Knocks. This is Brent and Ren. Who are we talking with tonight? Hello? Hello? Oh, looks like we lost him. That's all right. Yeah, give us a call back. Whoever you were, just give us a call back. It'll be just fine. Looks like we had a call dropped. So you're talking about Jeremy McNichols having a chip on his shoulder.
Yeah, So it sort of explained it, and I've heard that I'm not really sure where he grew up, but I heard San Francisco's a little closer to home. But I really, as a Bucs fan, I would like to see him on the practice squad and pan out. What's the interesting thing to me now is who was the 10th player that got added in spite of him, or from him not, signing. Like, who was the guy that made it because McNichols said no?
Right.
So that's the thing I'm going to be trying to figure out in the next few hours.
Maybe an addendum to the training camp journal with Ren, a little post analysis on that, huh?
Yeah, sure. I mean, or I'll just write up a quick article and throw it on What the Buck, and or Peter Plank. We'll see. But that's what I find interesting. I'm going to go back and actually probably look at that final scene, where they take his name off the board, the touch screen, and see who's there, and I guess I would say see who's not there. To bid. I'm trying to remember who the last couple of players were. I know it was Martino was one.
Sterling Bailey, I think, was one. Kind of towards the end, if I remember right. Was Leakey? I think Michael Leakey, the offensive.
No, it was Lucas.
Marquise Lucas.
Well, I think that's who the last two were Martino and that tackle Lucas.
Yeah,
were the last two to go on. I think Martino would have made it because you heard Dirk Cutter talk about if Bobo Wilson hesitated about coming on the practice squad, he was going to basically throw him out the door and take Dante Dye.
Right.
But since if he wasn't on the list, I mean, since Dante Day's not on the team, then I guess he really wasn't the 10th player. He was just like the next wide receiver they wanted on.
Exactly. Right.
So
right, because they're not, I mean, they've got Freddie Martino, they've got Bobo Wilson. Probably not going to carry 3 wide receivers on a practice squad. I mean, I guess they could, but I'm looking at the list right now, and they're pretty well spread out over the different positions. They've got 2 offensive linemen, they've got 2 wide receivers. Other than that, everybody else is pretty shaken out, pretty spread out. So, yeah, definitely. So if you had to speculate, you think it's one of those 2 who might have made it in, Marquise Lucas or Sterling Bailey?
I'm sorry, I did it again. I pulled the headphones out.
Oh, hate it when that happens. We said just if you had to speculate who that 10th player was that got McNichols' spot from where he went.
I'm going to go with Lucas.
Okay.
That's who I'm going to think. I can go back and look at tweets and be able to sort of nail it down. But I guess the next big question would be, since we signed – this isn't Hard Knocks related, but we signed that guy Will Clark today, is Channing Ward going to come back to the practice squad? And if he does –
Who does he bump?
Who does he bump?
Right. Well, I mean, and presumably that might actually wind up being Sterling Bailey, given the position there, could certainly be there. Hey, anybody who is over in the chat room, noticing a lot of people who are just now jumping into the chat room. Want to let you guys know the phone line is open, and if your call drops, get signal and call us back. The number is 864-729-BUCKS. That's 864-729-2827. Would love to talk with you guys about tonight's episode of Hard Knocks. Ren, want to talk a little bit about that first 15 minutes that you missed. One of the things you missed was I don't know what you call it, the cold open, the pre-roll before the opening credits start. Make sure you go do that, because let me tell you what, it was Gerald McCoy straight acting a fool in the gym. They have what they call Fight Song Friday, which is, I guess, whoever shows up early in the morning on a Friday gets their college's fight song played throughout the gym. And so it opens on Gerald McCoy walking into the gym and just going, hey, turn it on, turn it on, turn it on. And the Oklahoma Sooners fight song comes on, and he's in there being ridiculous. But he's the only one in the whole gym except for the Hard Knocks camera and the strength and conditioning coach. But he's going crazy having this thing play. So pretty funny that they had there. And then they also talked a little bit about I don't know if this was before or after, because you said you came in when Jameis was kind of talking about the Dirty South and what that meant. There was another part where they kind of started highlighting a little bit of Bobo. This episode, I thought, featured way less Jameis and Gerald, as the other 4 episodes have really focused on those guys, and this was way more about those, deep roster guys. But it started talking about Bobo, and it had Jameis in the what do you call it, like the quarterback's room, talking to it might have been Cepho, might have been his coach or something like that, and basically he said, "Hey, I like Bobo." I guess Jameis and Bobo both went to school together, like they played together. They were there at the same time, and he said, "Hey, I really like Bobo, but he's got to make a play if he's going to play in the NFL." Like, I really liked hearing that from Jameis. He's going, "I really like this guy. I'm a fan of this guy, but he's got to be able to do this in order to play at this level." Like, Jameis knows where he is now. He's not just going to, bring people along because they have a former connection, even though, he may personally like him. So I thought that was a cool thing to see. That I did that. Kevin in the chat room is saying that he loves Jameis's mentality because he had to give Bobo the talk. So
somebody needed to give that guy the talk, and it apparently didn't work either.
Yeah.
Yeah. But a lot of things, just about everything Jameis said in that show, I liked a lot. When he was goofing around with Deshaun Jackson, and he's like, John Dyke's like, "Oh, I know I'm not your boy like Mike Evans is," and he's like, "Well, Mike gives me a reason to love him. Like, you gotta, give me a reason to love you. I'll love you too." Basically, he's like, "Hey, man, you make plays for me. You're my guy too." So I thought that was really cool. And then, just as he's leaving the quarterback room, when Cepho was in there by himself, trying to recognize defenses, he's giving a little tip. He's like, "I think you can play in the league, but if you think you can't, then that's, the decision's already made." And then he gave him a little, some little tips like, look at the defenses, what a 5-5 front is and all that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. So, just those little things that they did feature Jameis on, it was very much, once again, very pro Jameis. And just the more you see him, the more you even hear him talk behind the scenes, it just sounds so genuine. It just makes you like the guy more and more.
Yeah, right. And it was I think it was Greg Allman who tweeted out in the middle of the show that there was the moment when Cepho threw the touchdown, of watching Jameis get like so hyped, like running down the sideline. Really, really funny. If you guys get to go back and watch the replay of that, watch for Cameron Brate, who's kind of running right next to Jameis in the middle of that.
I saw that.
His face is so funny. Like he's so excited, but it's just that I don't even know how to describe it. It was just so fun. Like, Jameis was funny. I thought Cameron Brate, to me, he stood out in that particular shot. But one of the things that I really liked, it made me laugh a lot, was when Jameis tried to go down and give Coach Cutter a high five. And Cutter just sort of looked at him, and he was like, "Okay, I'm going to walk over here."
Yeah. He's not having it. Like, this isn't fun time, Jameis. But, you can't squash his enthusiasm. But back to Brate. Mm-hmm. I mean, let's just face it. Let's call a spade here. The guy's a doofus. I mean, he just is. Like,
right.
Jameis is a 23-year-old kid who tucks his T-shirts into his shorts. All right, that's dorky. Now, you put Jameis and Cameron Brate in the same scene, like, Cameron Brate will always win the dorkiness. So you gotta. I mean, how goofy do you have to be like dorky or more dorkier than Jameis Winston? I mean, obviously, I'm a huge fan of both the guys. We're just kind of talking about his personality. But if you sort of watch Casey's little segment she does in the locker room, like she did last year, like she asked him sort of to draw the helmet emblems of some certain teams, or like who's the best, who has the best celebration, who's the best dancer, who's the worst. Everybody's always picking on Cameron Brate. It's just, he's just thank God he's athletic, because God, and 6'4", because you just got a feeling like he'd be hanging from the flagpole by his underpants his whole entire life.
Yeah, but I wouldn't want to be the guy to put Cameron Brate up on these.
That's what I said. I mean, he's like 6'4", 230. I get that, but I mean, he's just so goofy, man. Just so goofy. I mean, he can't celebrate right. He can't, I don't know. I'm not, like I said, I'm not like harping on the guy and and think he's a jerk or anything. I think he's a really good guy, but yeah, he's just if you out dorky Jameis, you're goofy. That's all I gotta say. You're a goof.
Somebody please tweet that. If you out dorky Jameis, you're a goofball.
You're a goofball.
Hey, let's speaking of quarterbacks, let's talk about Cepho for a little bit in this particular episode. One of the things, going back and just watching the film from that fourth preseason game, this is supposed to be his time to, put film on. Here's the thing. We all knew that he was going to get cut. We knew that he was really here for a camp arm. We knew that the team certainly wasn't going to keep 4 quarterbacks. It probably wasn't going to keep 3, although we turned out we did. But we put one on IR. So, the fact that Cepho got cut shouldn't have been a surprise to anyone, including him. And I want to talk about his cut here in just a minute. But, I found myself watching the game part feeling really, really bad for him there in that second half because, he was barely given a chance to do anything behind that offensive line. And with, McNichols missing his blocks, it seemed like every other play. So, yeah, I don't know. I just wanted to point that out. I don't know if you have anything towards that. But, Seth, he's getting creamed. He's getting his nose broken or at least bloodied. I mean, my God.
Well, a couple things on that. That third quarter, he wouldn't throw the ball. I mean, if you go back and rewatch that third quarter, he had time. He would go back, put his foot in the ground, and if his first guy was covered, he had no idea what to do it. I actually tweeted that out during the game, throw the ball. That's how I tweeted it out. He wouldn't throw it. I think we had 3 yards passing in the third quarter, and it's because he just would not throw the ball. He would not throw it. So he did better in the fourth quarter. But yeah, in the fourth quarter, things started to get away from it, especially the offensive line. But that's happened all preseason. Once the starters get out of there, it seems like it's sort of been a jailbreak for the other team. But if you look, they were bringing linebackers and they were bringing blitzes and they were doing stunts. And the Bucs defense pretty much did none of that. Especially the starting defense, did none of that during the preseason games. But speaking of him being cut, I was extremely surprised the Buccaneers didn't bring in a camp arm on the practice squad. Ryan Griffin can't throw or is not throwing, and you need somebody to run the scout offense, to go against your number one defense. This is what the Dolphins are going to do, and you need somebody to do that. Why Jameis and Fitzpatrick are over with the number one offense, playing against the scout defense. That's going to be run by Riley Bullough. But then when you heard sort of his exit interview with Dirk Cutter, you found out why. He's like, you're in practice, I'm scared to death because you don't know what you're doing, most of the time out there. Right. But you sort of put it together in games. And then you remember that second half, that Washington game, and you're like, that's putting together? You watch that performance and you're like, that's better than practice? Okay, then now I can understand why they didn't sign him back to the practice squad. I know they put him an injured reserve. It was probably for his nose. It's just a little, it makes it easier. You can get rid of him earlier and, get a little cash in his pocket. It's more like a friendly thing to do to him or do for a player. But I'm still surprised that there's not a quarterback on that practice squad to run that scout team. But now I realize why Lufau's not there, because apparently he was terrible.
Yeah, and I don't know to what extent Ryan Griffin can be involved. I did see some footage of practice the other day. I guess it was Monday's practice or yesterday's practice, where Ryan Griffin was on the field, but what he had those things on his arms where he's trying to knock down a pass or hold it up so that I think it was Fitzpatrick was throwing.
Crayon pad?
Yeah, the big that he had that. So I'm not entirely sure what the extent of Griffin, what he can do being on the IR list, what his involvement level is. But if he's not getting hit, if he's not really having to throw, if it's really there just to give them looks, he potentially could be him. But like I say, I don't know what the rules are regarding what he's allowed and not allowed to do, being on
participation wise.
Yeah, being on IR. So, because certainly it's a lot less than what Doug Martin is being suspended right now. So, but we had that Cepho. So we had Cepho. Speaking of Martin, let's talk about that. We all heard Dirk Cutter say that they had one final interview with or meeting, I guess, with Doug Martin before he left the stadium on Thursday. But then after it was the way they edited it together in the show. After the game was over, you kind of had the meeting of the six, right? Like the six stars of the team. Doug
Right.
Martin being one of them. And Cutter says, like, I'm not really sure if the players can or can't, but we're not allowed to. What'd you think about those six? What was the whole deal with that particular dinner where they got these nice little name cards and they were just out to eat? Was this something you think that was set up by Hard Knocks just to get some footage, or was this them, or?
I think it was definitely set up by Hard Knocks to get footage. It was basically bring the core of the team. I mean, Brent Grimes was there, Levante David was there, and they never I'm sure they said a word, but it was never you never saw him say anything. Doug Martin said like two things that made the reel.
Right.
I definitely think it was made by Hard Knocks. It was basically like, let's get these guys together, have some food and just let them, talk about stuff, about how the year's going to go, and just see wherever the conversation goes, and we'll record it. And if there's anything we can use, we'll put it on there. So I think that's definitely what it is, because all those guys are, they are the core of the team as far as like superstars go. The best at probably their positions. You can make an argument with, the best running back there, the best quarterback was there, the best wide receiver was there, the best defensive lineman was there, the best corner, like the best, defensive back was there. And you can make an argument if the best linebacker was there. I would say it's Levante David, just because Quan makes too many mistakes right now still, for me personally. So you get these guys together and just put them in a room, and the whole team was represented, at least position-wise. Well, I guess no offensive lineman. But, yeah, so, I keep repeating myself. But, yeah, I think it was just set up by Hard Knocks to see what they say, and that's it. But talk about seeing what they say. What about Jason Licht firing back at Skip Bayless?
Oh, my gosh.
Holy cow.
I think I was watching Twitter at that moment, and it blew up with Bucs fans. Just like, yeah, F Skip Bayless. He's horrible. But yeah, that's and that's going to get back to Skip Bayless. I would,
oh yeah, he's watching it tonight.
Oh yeah,
I'm sure he's already tweeted out about it.
Oh, has he?
Of course he has.
Ren, talk for a minute while I go look for that.
Blah 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 blah.
Somebody call in, talk to us. 864-729-BUCKS. That's 864-729-2827. You guys call in, talk to us about what you thought. What'd you think about those conversations that were happening? What'd you think about Jason Licht and all those things? Speaking of Jason Licht, Ren, something you may or may not have gotten to see since you missed those first few minutes was there was a point when Jason Licht was in the meeting room, like the conference room, and he goes into his phone and he holds down and he says, "Hey Siri," and he sings a line from Bohemian Rhapsody by Queen, and like just one little part of a line, like "I see a little silhouette of a man." That's all he said, and Siri went on like for 2 minutes, speaking like the rest of the lyrics to the song. It was pretty funny to watch that happen. On the other side, I'm sitting there. Of course, I tried it out, and I had I'm just curious how many other people in that moment grabbed their phone and went, "Can you do that?"
There's like wow, 200,000 people going, "Hey Siri!"
Right.
I don't know, a lot. I'm sure, and just like what happened, and I almost grabbed my phone to see what was happening on Twitter once, Jason Licht, that aired about Jason Licht saying about Skip Bayless, but I didn't.
Yeah, Skip Bayless hasn't said anything yet. Oh wait, let's see about his tweets and replies. Yeah, he's not said anything yet. That's all right. He's
thinking of a doozy.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it was no fault. He came out, and called the head coaching staff. They were in over their heads in high schoolish. And didn't like the way he was talking to Jameis, and it's like, all right. And I think somebody said it best, who wasn't a local, a local media guy. basically just quote tweeted, what Skip said and said, this coming from a national guy who's never had one conversation with Dirk Cutter.
Mm-hmm.
Which you're just kind of like, yeah, you're right. And we've seen that, when you're really deep into the Bucks and then you see national people sort of write about him, you're like, what? Like, that makes no sense. You have no idea what's going on.
Right. Let's take this call, find out who we're talking to. You are on the PewterCast with Brent and Ren. Who do we have here with us tonight?
Hey, this is Gene from Buck What You Heard.
Gene! What's up, buddy?
What's up, buddy?
What's going on, fellas? Love the show. Great content tonight, as usual.
Does it air at what time does it air out there in Arizona?
Right now it started at 8, I think, something like that.
Okay, cool.
It's 8:35 right now.
Yeah, we weren't really sure how, if it was going to air all across the United States at the same time or what. So, yeah, I'm just glad that that's not such a big time difference for everybody. So what'd you think?
I loved it. You know what? I have to say, and I'll be happy to say this on the air. I'll say this on my show as well. But I was dead wrong. I really love what they've done with Hard Knocks. I love the attention that, being here in Arizona, the Floridian in Arizona, just the love that, I've gotten, especially for Jameis Winston, the organization. And there are people that remember Jason Licht when he was part of the Cardinals organization. So there's some familiarity there. So it's really cool to get to talk about Bucs football to total strangers, when they see you wearing a Tampa Bay Bucs shirt. So shout out to the organization. They did a great job. They represented themselves very well. And I think the finale was excellent. There's a little bit of theater at the end, but I thought it was great.
Yeah. That was one of the things that I was wondering, because like where I'm in Jacksonville, not even in Tampa, and I imagine it's probably even less so for Tampa. There's one of the things we talked about going into Hard Knocks was that the nation would finally get to see Jameis as we see him, and people would kind of be put a little bit more on the map about the Buccaneers. But here now that Hard Knocks is over, I've kind of had that question in the back of my mind is, well, has it really had that effect? Have people really been paying attention to it?
Absolutely.
Or are the Buccaneers just getting disrespected? But you're saying being out in at least Arizona, in your neck of the woods, that people are standing up and they're taking notice of the Buccaneers out there.
Yeah, most definitely. I mean, I don't think there isn't a place that I haven't been where somebody's like, oh, yeah, I've been watching Hard Knocks, or, I didn't realize that Jameis was so much of a leader, or, I haven't heard anything negative about Jameis when it comes to, his abilities. And, people realize, as I talked about the organization, it's been pretty much a running joke for the past decade and a half. And here you are, people are looking at it, and you can see how Tampa's trending in the right direction, and people are seeing that.
Yeah, that's really exciting, and I think that's what all of us secretly wanted to happen. Mm-hmm. We wanted to see the behind the scenes stuff, and we wanted, like, we all guessed who was going to be the breakout star, and
Quan,
we wanted
it was going to be Quan.
Quan was, pretty much the overwhelming favorite. Yeah, I think he got one word. Yep, it's pretty red. He went like, yeah, that was it. Like, that was it. But I think secretly everyone was really hoping, at least Buccaneer fans were, I should say, that the people that did watch Hard Knocks got to see Jameis as people that follow the Buccaneers closely see Jameis. And I don't blame anybody that only know him from what happened in college. That's probably the last time he's really got national headlines, whether he won the national championship and all the trouble he ran into college. Then he got drafted number 1, and let's face it, he did do that crab leg picture as soon as he got drafted, and then after that he sort of fell off the national scope. He does play Gene said, we haven't been that good since 2004, 2005. That's it's over a decade. So I'm really glad to hear that that's happening. People you run into, and I would feel safe to say that that's sort of happening all over the United States. That people finally get to see how we feel about Jameis.
Yeah, most definitely. And, there are other players, Gerald McCoy. I've talked to people about Gerald McCoy, and Riley Bullough is the main guy that, other than Jameis, that I've been asked about. And it's kind of cool to see him back on the practice squad. I hope he succeeds. He has his physical limitations, but I hope he succeeds, because he's putting in the hard work and he's putting his heart into it. And, I know this is a business, but I'd like to see him produce and be able to make it on this team.
Yeah. I've sort of said this on Twitter and some private, chat, places, some Bucks pages and things. Here's why I like Riley Bullough's back. He is going to run the most prepared and most well-organized scout defense in the NFL. Mm-hmm. And that's saying a lot. Like, if you can get a guy in your practice squad that's going to prep so hard just to run the practice squad that Jameis is going to have to go against every week, I think that's really something you can't measure, and I think Riley's just going to excel at it.
Absolutely. The intangibles, there you go. There's that word. I mean, I think with the Bucs organization, you've seen that since Jason Licht's been here. I know that you saw it more after Lovie Smith was gone and they brought the new coach in and you had the new regime. But I have to tell you, I've seen more players with intangibles. I heard people talking about, Levante David last year and how he had a bad season. But if you go back and look at the game film, he was making plays away from the ball that most people weren't looking at. Mm-hmm. And I thought he had a really good season last season. I mean, he wasn't making impact plays, but he was impacting plays that the Buccaneers defense was making. So I thought he had a good season. If you go back and, just kind of watch what he did away from the ball, you kind of get that idea.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. He had such a breakout couple of years when he was in Schiano's defense, and then it sort of fell off with Lovey's defense. And he had a very good last year, but like you said, there wasn't a lot of splash plays. He had a couple sacks, but he didn't have any interceptions. But with Quan making so many tackles week in and week out, you sort of look at the stat sheet and it's like Quan, 12 tackles, Levante David 8. Okay, well. But you don't understand. And like you said, I've heard it a few times from a few people that have gone back and sort of reevaluated Levante David's season last year. And he had he didn't have a crappy season. He had a very good season. The problem is,
right.
Quan Alexander had an outstanding season. He did have a Pro Bowl season as far as statistics are concerned. And I've said this is one of my hot takes, on the Mothership, the main show, the PeterCast, that I think Mike Smith is going to blitz Levante David a lot more. And as a hot take, I'm calling 7+ sacks for him this year.
Whoa.
It's high, but it's
Dude,
high.
You're the second person I've heard say that. I was listening to another show over the weekend, and somebody predicted 7 sacks.
Oh, that was me. You're listening to Donovan? Donovan and Eric?
Oh, yeah, okay. There we go.
I called it.
That's Ren getting around, baby. That's Ren getting around.
Yeah. So, yeah, there we go. That's not out of the realm of possibility either. We don't know what this defense is going to look like when they really unleash it, because everybody was learning it last year, and now you're in a position where everybody can just go. Gene, I think they're going to help the new people to come along faster than what you would have saw last year.
Yeah, they are. And Gene, if I could add to what you're saying, I don't think people have seen what this team is going to look like until they unleash it. Because we talked a little bit even on our main show, and I think a little bit last week on Talking Knox, of how it really feels like this preseason, they have not been showcasing anything for this team.
Vanilla.
And rightly so. You get to the big dress rehearsal, and all of a sudden you sit out, what was it, 15 of your players. 11 of whom probably should be starting. Like, that's half your starting lineup. So, it's I can't wait for this first game, and whether that first game winds up being this Sunday or Thursday or maybe even a Monday night game. God forbid that it turns into the bye week game. Though I think it's probably leaning more towards that. But that's just my feeling. I'm not saying that I have any insight, but
just quick question on that point right there with the bye week.
Yeah.
Is there anything in the collective bargaining agreement to where they would have to play on a bye week, or is that all? Is that part of it? I wasn't. I kind of looked it up, but I'm still unsure on that.
No, there's as well. I can't say that I've read the collective bargaining agreement, but I can tell you, watching Greg Allman's Twitter feed today discussing this very topic, that playing during the bye week is very much an option. And as Greg pointed out, we didn't even have a bye week until a handful of years ago, relatively speaking, in the NFL. Bye week's apparently a fairly new concept. So. But as Dan says in the chat room, he'd hate to see for people to lose a bye week. I think everybody'd love to hate to see people lose a bye week. We're talking about safety in the NFL. Generally you get that you play a Thursday night game, then you get that whole next week through Sunday, so you get that mini bye week, but then you get the actual bye week. So hopefully you get that at least twice a year. Man, it'd suck for the Dolphins and the Buccaneers to lose that, but that's football. That's
yeah, and then considering how far back, that's what, week 11?
Yeah.
Unbelievable. That's a lot of football. That's a lot of hitting, and most people look forward to the bye week to get some players healthy that are dinged up. So, wow, it's playing straight through.
Yep. So it's a possibility. Hopefully Roger Goodell is not so distracted by this Ezekiel Elliott thing that he can actually make a good decision. I think Trevor Sikkema from PewterReport.com was really pushing the idea of basically just moving it to a Monday night. Move it to this Monday night. And it would be better for everybody all the way around just to do it on Monday, which I could be a fan of that. I think that'd be – I don't know who's scheduled for Monday Night Football this week, but, basically we'd have 2 games on Monday Night Football. So
yeah, it's not like they've never done that before.
Exactly. So, but yeah, that's what we have. So, well, Gene, thank you so much for calling in, my friend. I'm going to go ahead and clear this line. We'll give somebody else a chance to give us a call in.
All right, man. Thanks a lot, and keep up the good work. Great show.
We'll do it, Gene. We'll talk to you real soon, okay?
All right, later.
All right, we'll talk to you.
Thanks, Gene.
Gene, if you guys haven't checked out Gene and his show, Buck What You Heard, you guys can check that out on YouTube. Gene, drop it in the chat room just so I make sure that I have the date and time right. But it's usually, I think, Wednesday nights about 10 o'clock. Let's find out who we have calling in here. Oh, I think I know who this is. You are on with Brent and Ren for Talking Knox here at Mixler.com/ThePewterCast. Who do we got talking to us tonight?
Chef Aaron, guys.
Chef, what's going on, buddy? You have called in so many times. I've got your number. I know it whenever I see it. What's going on, Chef? How you doing, man?
Pretty good. How are you guys? How's Florida doing so far? Hope you guys stay safe down there.
Well, we're mostly dry right now, at least up in Jacksonville. Ren, I don't know. Are you guys getting any rain yet?
No. I mean, we're not going to get rain till Friday. I don't think South Florida's going to rain till Friday. My Tampa probably won't get rain till late Friday night, early Saturday morning. So we're still above water. The peninsula hasn't flooded.
Right.
But yeah. But the more I sort of watch the Weather Channel, the more my anxiety starts to drop a bit. It looks like it's going to once it does hit Florida. I mean, it's not going to hit Tampa. The eye's not going to hit Tampa dead on. And they're talking about now like the winds might be down to 145, 135. And if it doesn't hit you dead on, that's just sort of a storm for Floridians. I'm not trying to be bravado or be stupid. I'm not saying anyone stay, but a 135 hurricane, just as long as there's no flood, just batten down the hatches and I'll see you in a day and a half.
So how about it, Chef? Did you get to watch Hard Knocks tonight? What'd you think of the show?
I'll actually be watching it when I get home from work, but I saw the Twitter feed and all that stuff, and seeing the whole Bobo Wilson saga going on, that has to just – I just cannot believe a practice squad player would go down to Miami on a cut day when a guy like Dante Dye busts his ass off, even while he's injured, to try to make it on the squad, and he doesn't. And the fact that Bobo has the spot on the practice squad, whereas Dante Dye doesn't, that baffles the hell out of me. I don't know why Jason and Dirk would want Bobo, who is obviously unreliable, as opposed to Dante Dye. Obviously, Dante has his injury history, but you can see that he shows a passion and a want to be on this team. Whereas Bobo, I think he's having his talent or whatever get to his head, and his ego is getting the best of him. So other than that, I don't know about that. And after hearing what Jason Licht said about Jeremy McNichols, that made me love him so much more. Yeah. I mean, that's just kind of like how Brent has been saying, like, the culture and all that stuff has been changing. That's exactly the type of statement that Jason Licht made when it came to changing the culture. Like, we don't want mentally weak players on this team. We want strong players that can take an ass slashing from Dirk Cutter and all that stuff, and just not bail just because you can't take a yelling or whatever. It's just like, if that's how McNichols is going to be, then screw him. Let him go to the Niners. I just love Jason even more after that.
Yeah. I want to jump back to the Bobo Wilson thing because I made a note when I watched that whole very thing where, you know, Shelton Quarles calls him and he's like, "Oh yeah, I'm in like Miami. I came home," and I got to tell you, if that was me, if I was in the GM chair, I would not have done what Jason Licht did. I would have said, "Well, screw him. He's done. Who's the next person on the list? Let's get Dante Dye in here," because that's just stupid. You just don't do that. But I did really respect what Jason Licht had said. You'll see this when you see the whole show. If you didn't get to see the part yet, Chef, but Jason Licht sat there, ran his, face palmed himself, and then ran his hands through his hair, and he looks up and he says, "I don't want to make a bad decision right now. I don't want to make a spur of the moment decision that I might regret," or whatever he said. Like he had you could see that he wanted to. He really wanted to just say, "Well, screw Bobo." But he made the right call. Or I don't know if it was the right call. He made a good call on a leadership level, and as you say, changing the culture. That's is that something that can be coached out of Bobo? Is that something that he can mature into? Yeah, absolutely. They're saying in the chat room, Bobo is young and he has great hands. That's a good place to start. The question, I think, becomes with Bobo is, can he improve, but more importantly, can his attitude improve? Can we get him there? But, we also talk about Jason Licht saying he doesn't just want the right player, but he wants the right kind of player, kind of what you were just saying there, which takes us to McNichols. And, turns out McNichols, I think people are calling him McBust or McGone or
I don't know if you happen to listen or seen Twitter or whatever, but Tom Jones was just going off on Jason Licht saying, "I think he's being a little bit petty and a little bit sulky on the whole McNichols thing. It's not like, he was attached to the hip to the kid. It's like he needs to calm down a little bit." I'm like, Jones, I swear to God, Jones needs to just maybe go to San Francisco with McNichols. I mean, seriously, he's as weak-minded as McNichols is.
Oh, can we all just listen? I'm not going to get in and ride the train on Bucks media. I don't even know that I count Tom Jones. I don't count Tom Jones among the Bucks media. I respect most of the Bucks media. Tom Jones, oh my God, I can't do it. Ren, take.
And Tom Jones reminds me of a guy who constantly, 24 hours a day, has sand in his vagina.
Yes, I would definitely agree with that.
So, besides that, he just always seems to come out on the wrong side of everything. It's just, and I understand it's sort of his job as a journalist, and I gave him the benefit of the doubt for a long time. And, but and I've explained this, back sort of when this whole controversy broke out originally about the Jameis article was, I used to listen to Tom Jones, at the 6 to 9 o'clock hour when he was on with Rick Stroud. And that's just kind of the way he is. He's just sort of a strange cat. He's just a little – that's just who he is. But now it seems like he's sort of – speaking of Skip Bayless, it's sort of now he's got this notoriety for doing it, and he's just sort of running with it a little more than – I think it's starting to get to the point where he's doing it because it's opinion, but – he knows that when he puts his opinion out there, it's unpopular and it's going to get reactions and he's going to get some pub and people are going to talk about him. And so things like that. So it's almost getting to the point where we're
I can see that.
Yeah, we're like he's not really. I don't want to say he's doing the whole thing on purpose, but he does not think twice about what he tweets now, and kind of like the more controversial, the better.
Well, all I can say is that if he really thinks that way, then he really needs to grow a set and just man up. I mean, seriously, this is the NFL. If you're going to be mentally weak like that, you're not going to last in the NFL. I don't care if you get an ass lashing from the coaches or whatever. That's what's supposed to basically help you build your confidence. Kind of like in the military, they tear you down in order to build you back up.
Well,
if you can't handle that, then you're not going to last in this league.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And Chef, how many times in the cuts did we see Coach Cutter look at somebody and say, "Hey, listen, I may be yelling at you, but it's because I want you to get better." I mean,
that's all the coaches ever do.
Right. I mean,
that's what they're paid to do.
He had to have said it to at least 3 different people in the cuts tonight. I mean, I wonder how many people he said it to in the cuts we didn't get to see. You know.
You look at the Jaguarsville or the Jaguars game. He tore Jameis a new a-hole basically for doing what he's always done, and that's like make some poor decisions and all that stuff. But Jameis is mentally strong enough to handle that, and if McNichols can handle a few yellings and all that stuff, that just shows you that he's not going to last very long in this league.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you know, I mean. Yeah. And, you know, by moving out to San Francisco, McNichols, I guess, will be a little bit closer to home. I mean, that's the only thing I can really think about that and try to figure that out. But, I mean, hey, listen, you know, McNichols is gone. He's not our problem anymore. Let's talk about somebody we did sign over to the practice squad, Chef, and I'm just curious to get your thoughts on it before I let you go. Riley Bullough. What about his whole thing? Any thoughts about him? Because you were a big fan of Riley Bullough. You were really hoping he would make the team.
Yeah, I love the signing. I mean, I just hope that he doesn't get signed off of the practice squad by some other team anytime this season. But yeah, the kid has a kind of like Jameis Winston. He has charisma about him and energy that he just oozes out of him, and the leadership. That's something you can't teach. And like what Brent has said. If he's going to bring that to the practice squad, that's just going to make the practice squad, I think, that much better and all that. And he'll probably give Jameis a run for his money and when it comes to practices. And, I mean, obviously he, like Mike Smith has said, his lone disadvantage right now is his pass coverage abilities and all that stuff. He's obviously great against the run and all that stuff. And he has a hustle, kind of like Quan Alexander, but obviously lacks the speed or whatever. But, the kid, that's like one of what we've been talking about, the mentally strong people or players that we need to have on this team to change the culture and make the winning atmosphere of in one buck contagious. The kid oozes it. And, I was bummed that he got cut, but obviously, kind of like what Dirk said, it's not the end of the road because he knows that Bullough has the it factor, and basically, he deserves the practice squad job, and I look forward to seeing what we get from him for the season. So.
All right, yeah, I definitely look forward to that. Hey, Chef, I'm going to go ahead and clear this line. Let somebody else have a chance to call in. But man, thank you so much for calling, and we'll definitely talk to you on one of our future InstantCast shows that we have coming up this season.
No problem. Stay dry, guys.
Same to you, Chef. Be good, man.
Thanks, Chef.
So, Ran, I'll toss that over to you. Well, before I do that, I want to just kind of go ahead and throw it out there. Phone line is open if anybody wants to call in. We'd love to talk about anything that you guys want to talk about regarding Hard Knocks from this episode or from the whole season. The number is 864-729-BUCKS. That's 864-729-2827. Ran, I'll kind of ask you the same question I asked Chef there. What do you think of the whole Riley Bullough thing tonight?
Well, you know, we all knew he was going to get cut. We all knew he was going to make the practice squad. The only really difference you saw, and once again, you don't know if it's creative editing or not, but it sure didn't look like it. It's sort of the difference between Riley Bullough and Bobo Wilson. Like, Riley was in the building all day long. They're like, stay next to your phone. And, he was at practice. He was at the facility. He was working out. He was putting in work. And when they called him, they're like, yeah, we'll come get you downstairs. Because they know he's in the building, And you call Bobo Wilson, and, he's in Miami. And, the guy tells you got to be back by 1. And he's like, yeah. Doesn't say bye. Doesn't, say thank you. And then when the – go ahead.
Let's take this call here. Hey, you guys are on with Ren and Brent for Talking Knocks. Who do we got here tonight?
We got Brandon from Baltimore.
Brandon from Baltimore. How's it going, my friend?
I'm good. How about you?
Not too bad, not too bad. Hey, what'd you think of Hard Knocks tonight?
Hard Knocks was great. Overall, it's a great show. As far as, for us as Tampa Bay fans and stuff. Great show. Tonight was great. As far as, with Bobo and Riley. Couple things, like I said, like I was saying in the chat, I can see Bully being like a Luke Kuechly type, and I see it in him a little bit. He's just young. And he'll learn from his mistakes. I'm glad he's on the practice squad.
Yeah, hopefully he can also use this time to increase the athletic ability, because that seemed to be the thing that the coaches kind of were harping on. At least what we saw through Hard Knocks was he's a little lacking in this athletic side or this athletic side. Hopefully that's something he can train up and get better in.
Yeah, and Bobo, I think with him, he had a lot of things going for him. You see like Deshaun Jackson and Jameis Winston. You see them trying to go and root for him a little bit. I think Deshaun was just trying to find his way on our team, but I think with him being young, and like I said, he had great hands, and with that, I think that's the reason why they took him over DD.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, I said it in, the Wren's diaries, and I've talked about it. I don't know if I've tweeted it out, or I'm in so many different places, I don't know exactly where I said it. But yeah, Bobo, besides Deshaun Jackson, in and out of the break, the fastest guy is Bobo Wilson. It was sort of like the big four trying to get that last spot was Reedy, Huff, Martino, and I'm forgetting one who didn't make it, obviously. But those and Dede. Those were the four that you really thought had a chance. And I would say, I don't think Bobo's actually getting enough shots in practice or in games. That was before the 4th preseason game. As far as upside and playmaking ability, as all the backup receivers besides the original big four, I guess the starting big four, Evans, Jackson, Hump, and Godwin, Bobo has the most upside for sure. It's just, like I said, some of it could be creative editing, but, his attitude's got to change. Actually, I don't think it is creative editing, because Jason Licht almost is like, that might be the last straw. And then you saw Dirk Cutter he was about to cut him, right there, call him back, tell him not to bother. And Dirk Cutter was like, if he even hesitates about the practice squad, you're done, and I'm bringing back Dede. But they want that last position. And Brent, you remember when you were down, we were talking to Roy Cummings, and he said there was sort of this juxtaposition or pulling back and forth in the organization about the 5th wide receiver spot. One guy, half the staff sort of wanted a young developing player, and half the staff sort of wanted a more of a veteran guy they could count on. And, it looks like that's where – and I think that was kind of like a Martino, making or Bobo kind of spot. But if he doesn't change his attitude, I think we could all pretty much agree that he's not going to last very long here. But if he does change his attitude, he could be one of those, undrafted free agents that, next year or the year after that makes the squad and, becomes like a punt returner for 3 or 4 seasons until he gets a shot to, get into that 4-man rotation.
Yeah, punt return, I can see him as that, because we definitely needed one over the years. especially with, having Humphreys as our third wide receiver. It's time for him to go ahead and let go of that, put somebody else back there.
Thank you. Yes.
Me too. I agree.
Yeah.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
And then a couple things that I wanted to see, being that McNichols got cut or didn't even want to be on our squad, I wish they would have showed a little bit more of Justin Evans, just a little bit more, just to see exactly where his head is. And also, I also wanted to see a little bit of the signing of T.J. Ward, just a little bit, not too much, just a little bit of the signing.
Right. I think Hard Knocks was already out of Tampa when that came down.
Probably.
I heard they packed up the weekend and left, and then Ward signed, late, or however you look at it, early Monday morning, and then and then signed Monday. And I don't think Hard Knocks is in the building again. With Justin Evans, as you may know, being all the way up in Baltimore, I can understand that. But I've said many times, I've been to all of the training camp practices. I've watched all the interviews. I've been as close as you possibly could be without having press credentials, and I don't know anything about Justin Evans. So, it's like there's been zero buzz, coverage, or anything about the guy. We don't know if he's getting the playbook down. None of the beat reporters are asking about him. The only thing you keep hearing is he needs to improve his tackling, and he's working on it. And that's what you've heard for 5-6 weeks now. So, I get you. Look at Justin Evans. I didn't really think about it as soon as you said it. I was like, I would like to know what's going on with Justin Evans myself. But but a big coup for the Bucs getting T.J. Ward. Very happy about that.
Yeah, especially with all the drama that was going on around him with the Broncos and stuff like that. That would have been a little bit of a go. So.
Yeah, he kind of feels like we're bringing in he's going to bring a lot of what Robert Ayers brought into this organization when he came in. Oddly, I mean, didn't Robert Ayers come to us from the Broncos, another former Bronco?
Giants.
Was he the Giants? Was he with the Broncos before?
I think
point?
so.
I think he was, yeah. Yeah, at some point he was with the
say.
Broncos. I'm 92% sure of that.
His McLaren is Bronco orange. It's Tennessee orange, but whatever.
Yeah, but Batman's not a real superhero. But did we talk about that, Ren, when we saw Robert Ayers walking by and we hollered out at him?
No,
at the Jacksonville. I'm sorry, Brandon. I'm just a little sidebar. Ren, if you don't know, Ren had this big conversation on Twitter with Robert Ayers one day about whether or not Batman was a real superhero, and we were at the Jacksonville practice one day, and we saw Robert Ayers walking over the fence, and as he was going, I yelled back to him. I said, "Batman's not a real superhero," and he turns and goes, "Yes, he is," and just keeps walking.
No.
You guys, previous episodes, I was laughing my butt off.
Yeah.
Because I don't think he's a real superhero neither, but.
Right. He's rich. He's just rich. So,
yeah.
Well, Brandon, thank you so much for your phone call, man. I'm going to go ahead and clear this line. We'll give somebody a last chance to call in here before we close out the show. All right, man?
Yeah, thank you so much for calling, man. Appreciate it.
Just to let you know, I love you guys. Keep doing what you're doing. This is great for me.
We'll do it, man. Hey, thank you. And, hey, please call back. We're going to have the InstantCast show Sunday nights, 9 o'clock throughout the course of the season. So please feel free to join us back for any one of those shows. Give us a call back, all right?
Okay, no doubt.
Thanks, man. You have a great one now.
Thank you.
So
I think that was a first-time caller.
I think he was. Yeah, absolutely. I think he was. So, actually, I think Gene might have been a first-time caller as well for our show. Although
no,
I think
he called us on he called us on an InstantCast one time before.
You think so? Okay. You're probably right.
I know
about
so.
That.
I remember.
So? Okay. But talking about T.J. Ward and his signing, one of the things that I thought that immediately came to my mind when we signed him was that whole thing that Jason Licht said. I think it was at the beginning of this preseason, saying where ideally he likes to draft a young player and then have a free agent signing who's kind of a veteran in that area. We drafted Justin Evans. And we've had Conti and Tandy and, kind of that whole story with the safeties of, hey, they're just going to sit tight with what they have there. Bringing in T.J. Ward to pair him up against with a guy like, say, Justin Evans, it seems to be following that route. And I don't know that that's exactly why they did it. I think they just had a player who they had a really good player who came available in a spot that we could use an upgrade, and so we did. But what do you think of that T.J. Ward signing? Let's assume it was part of this Hard Knocks show if they'd been still been in the building.
All you have to do is go back and watch his interview, like his first time he talked to the press when he got to Tampa. I guess he said he landed something like at midnight, got 3 hours sleep, was up, and then was basically in the building, signed his contract, and then was like in front of the media by noon, I think, that day.
Right.
And just how easy he was in front of the media, just, how honest he was, candid he was. He wasn't mean about anything, but, it's like that Jay Cutler question was just so funny. It was like, I don't know if like the question was how do you do against Jay Cutler, or how have you done when you face Jay Cutler, or what do you think about Jay Cutler? But he goes, well, when I play Jay Cutler, I win. And then he just laughed, but it was such a genuine laugh. He wasn't trying to, he was just like, he's like, I'm sorry, but it's true. It's like, and then he goes and, reels it back in a little bit, and, he tries to fit in small windows and stuff. He's very media savvy. He talks like a pro, but he's not going to give you any players speak. I liked him instantly. About halfway through the interview, I'm like, I really like this guy. Now, having said all that, he's a definite upgrade at safety. You can't argue that.
Right.
You can if you want to, but I saw.
You're gonna lose.
You can't convince people it's something they don't believe. But I saw some guy on Twitter who kind of jumped into a Bucs feed talking about how J.J. Wilcox is a better safety. Like we pulled one over on the Bucs.
Yeah, I saw that.
We got a draft pick and a better safety. Like booyah or something. It's like, what are you talking about?
Right.
But it's all about how fast he can get in there. I don't think it's nearly gonna, and everyone probably thinks that it's not gonna nearly take him as long, as a rookie to pick up the defense and get in there. Some people think he's gonna be inactive if we do play a game this week. Because he doesn't have the playbook down. I think by week 2 he'll probably be starting. The big question is it going to be Ward and Tandy or Ward and Conti? I sort of think it's going to be a Ward and Conti because sort of Conti has the speed to play that more of the center field sideline to sideline. And TJ Ward is just basically J.J. Wilcox, but a lot better at a 3-time Pro Bowler and 1-time All-Pro. I mean, he's sort of like a downhill safety. You can play him in the box. You know how they're experimenting with that even 3 safeties where they had Tanti Conti and they're putting Wilcox sort of in the nickel to cover like the big tight ends. I can see them doing that a lot this year as well with him. So it's just an upgrade from play, from experience, from knowledge. Coach on the field, I really expect him to sort of take over that secondary as far as being the vocal leader. Quan will take care of the defensive line and the linebackers, and T.J. Ward, sort of like John Lynch did for us when he was there with Brooks. Brooks said it, but Lynch was sort of the linchpin. Sorry, but he was the guy that made sure everybody was in place, and I think T.J. Ward is going to be sort of filling that spot. The veteran savvy leader, and just make sure everyone is where they're supposed to be. Couldn't be happier, I guess, to wrap that up finally.
Yeah, and I think the thing that I loved the most about him was he posts his little like Periscope or Facebook Live video or whatever, maybe Instagram video, whatever it was, where he was out on the practice field. He was wearing his Bucs jersey. Took number 43 from Peyton Barber, by the way. I think Peyton Barber's now 25, which was the number he wore in college, I think it was. But the video, he's just said, hey, listen, I love being here. I can't wait to bring this city a championship. There's no doubt in his mind. Like, that's where we're going. And I love that. I love that kind of attitude. I want to see that on our team, that our guys just know that that's where we're going. And nothing less is acceptable. So I'm super excited for TJ Ward. I really like Brandon and so many people, I really wish they would have maybe stuck around. Maybe that'll teach them in future years. Hey, stick around for a little bit, because even as their own announcer said, he's like the narrator on Hard Knocks. He said they're finalizing their opening day roster by cutting it down to 53. And if anybody followed me on Twitter this last week, I kind of put out my own personal pet peeve at this time of year is when people keep calling it the final 53. It's not the final 53.
I named my article in Pewter Plank just to get at you.
Yeah, thanks for that. Yeah, thanks for that. I saw that.
Well, I didn't want to go into. I agree with you, but I didn't want to go into like calling it the first 53 in the first paragraph. Right? Well, this is the reason I call it the first 53. It's not really the final 53 because there's going to be people. Blah, 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 blah.
I get it, and everybody calls it the final 53, and that's really more of a carryover from when they actually had the midway cut down to like 75. Because you had that cut, and then you had this whole secondary cut as well. So this would be that final cut down to 53, but it's not. It's the initial 53. But anyway, it's my own personal pet peeve. But even there, they said this is going to be the game day roster, and you and I both know that I think the active roster has already had several changes just since Hard Knocks wrapped up. We lost a long snapper. We put a quarterback on IR. We got the long snapper back. We signed TJ Ward. We got rid of Wilcox. So there's already been some. We got rid of Channing Ward off the active roster. May or may not get him back on practice squad. There's already been lots of changes just in the last couple of days. And it's Tuesday. It's just Tuesday. Yeah. So I will say Ren, tonight. Go ahead. Say what. Go ahead.
I was just gonna put a little brag in there, but I did get, depending on how you look at my roster, I got 50 out of 53 or 49 out of 53. And then on my practice squad, I got 8 out of 11. So I just want to throw that out there that I know what I'm talking about. Thank you very much.
There you go. Thank you very much. And you guys can check out Ren at the Pewtercast. No, not the Pewtercast. Yes, you can check him out at the Pewtercast for sure. But the Pewter Plank, pewterplank.com. You guys check out his articles there, and whatthebuck.net. You guys can check out some more content by Ren. Always good stuff that he has going on over there. Ren, I'll tell you, I thought for just a moment, I thought I had a sighting of a mini Lombardi.
Oh yeah,
I really did. It was in Cutter's office.
Did you freeze it?
I did.
And did you jump up on someone's chair and put your sweaty balls on someone?
No, but I got really close up on the mantle of my fireplace and was like crawling in. Is that it right there? But alas, it was not. I think it was a bobblehead.
I've been, to be honest, I've been looking. I've been looking every show too. I mean, every shot I've been looking. We got to find out. The best way we can find out – we got to find out the best way. We need to come up with a way to be the less intrusive to a player or a coach who got one of these things and find out where they have it. Like even if they just threw it away.
Right.
Right. I think our best bet is to go after Brian Anger.
Yeah.
He doesn't really do stuff – like he just kind of hangs around in practice. If they're not practicing punts, he's over on the third field. Just, I don't know, Facebooking or something. There's not really a lot for him to do. So, he doesn't have to game plan. You know what I mean? You're not really taking anything away from the team. We're not going to contact Mike Evans or Jameis Winston and be like, hey, I mean, those guys are flooded with social media and, all the apps and things. I'm sure there's people always – tagging them and hashtagging them and all that kind of stuff and asking them questions and, hey, come to my birthday party, all that kind of stuff. But I don't think anybody talks to Brian Anger. And we know how much we love Brian Anger.
We do love Brian Anger. We do love Brian Anger. You know who else? You know who else this might work with? Who got a mini Lombardi last year?
Doug Martin, because he's got 3 weeks.
Hey, we got 3 weeks. No, Keith Tandy. Keith Tandy got a mini Lombardi last year.
He is an extremely nice guy.
Yeah. So that's a good idea, Ren. You should get on that.
Hey, I gotta surround the house with sandbags.
There you go. I gotta not go anywhere. I gotta decide if we're gonna evacuate or not. I'm not really sure what we're gonna do that. So, well, Ren, that's gonna put us up to our hour here, man. So, any kind of final thoughts wrapping up this episode of Hard Knocks and the season as a whole, or anything else maybe you didn't quite hit that you wanted to hit off tonight's episode?
It was a lot of fun. You know, we weren't really sure how this was going to go. It was such a late start, 11 p.m. Eastern time. For a lot of people, most Buck fans, you would think most Buck fans are in the state of Florida, Eastern time zone. But, people called in. We had some good conversations. We met some new people on the phones. We had some of, old friends, friends from the, I guess, that we've met through the podcast, but, we've known them for months, maybe might even push it to a year now. And, it was just a good time. I'm really glad that we did it. And, what I like, I guess one of the things I should say that I like best about us together is that one of us has an idea, one of us will pitch it, and the other one goes, yeah, sure, let's do it. And then, like 8 hours later, it happens, and we're off and running. So, thank you everyone that called and is, has downloaded, will download. Like I said, I really enjoyed it. It was fun to watch. I'll be going back as soon as I hang up. With Brent, I'm gonna go back and watch the last episode again because I missed 15 minutes. Right. But I want to get to see the Skip Bayless thing again. There's a few other things that I really enjoy that are just sort of like I'm missing right now in my head. But yeah, I'll be watching the whole entire series again, and I'm very happy that people such as Gene and Brandon from Baltimore, Gene from Arizona, that they got this chance to, sort of get closer to their team without having to drive how many hundreds of miles and, go to like training camp practice as much as possible and sort of hang out in the heat. It was just a nice thing for Bucs fans. I like that, America sort of learned about the Bucs, so I really don't care about that much. I think the biggest thing that I'm most happy about is that, fans, all over the world, even people, in the UK and Buck fans in Italy and all those, they got a little inside look, and now they feel like that the Buccaneers is a little more their team than it was, 6 weeks ago. Yeah,
yeah, I agree. I think that's certainly been the most amazing thing is this has been fun. We've gotten to connect with new fans, with old fans, not just of our show, but of our fellow fans for the Buccaneers. We kind of got to do it outside of a football season around something like this, which has been very fun. Atlanta Bucs fan Dan just points out in the chat room that Robert Ayers never made the gag reel. We talked a lot about that kind of going into the show.
Yeah.
That he never made that. Somebody else earlier, and I apologize, I don't know exactly who it was, talking about the little tease that they did in tonight's episode with Shelton Quarles. Whenever he's trying to call somebody and telling them like, hey, listen, this is not a good phone call, and
Coach wants to see you, bring your playbook.
Yeah, and so like he's calling somebody, and then it cuts to Riley Bullough and his phone ringing, and then Riley's like, hey, Clark, let me give you a call back in 10 minutes, and then turns out he's calling Jeremy McNichols or somebody else. I don't know. Maybe Bobo Wilson. So like even HardKnocks was kind of messing with us there a little bit. But I think kind of the overall thought that I have going out of HardKnocks is, one of the questions going into this was, is HardKnocks going to be a distraction? Are there going to be guys that are just performing for the camera? Are there going to be guys, what's that really going to be? And what we've heard this entire process is that HardKnocks, the film crew, has been totally professional. They've been there, but they've not really been in the way. Certainly Cutter would prefer to have not had them there, especially, through some of the cuts, I think he said, when asked who was in the room for the Aguayo thing, he just said, well, it was me, Jason, Aguayo, and the HardKnocks guy. Like that, and he almost kind of said that, like, with a little tongue-in-cheek, through a little chagrin. But, it doesn't feel like this has negatively impacted our team, but positively impacted our team. Not just from a fan standpoint and from us as fans being able to get to know the team, but even within the organization itself. It doesn't feel like this has had any kind of negative effect on the team. So that was something that I was really glad to see.
Yeah, you sort of nailed it on the head. That was like, the biggest worry going in for everybody was how is it going to affect, the team. And I think that was what Gene was alluding to when he first called. He's like, I was dead wrong. He never really said what he meant. But if I remember correctly, Gene was, one of those people in the camp of, I don't want them there. Like, teams on the cusp. I want them to concentrate on football. I don't want any distractions. And you know what? Maybe they won't be ready week 1, and then we have somebody to blame. They're not Tennessee ready. So you don't really know if it is. But I wouldn't want to take it away. I think it was good. Like I said, I had a lot of fun. I learned a lot of things. I know there's a lot of fans out there like I am where pretty much anything I can see about the Buccaneers, I'm ingesting, all the press conferences, all the Twitter feeds, most of the articles, a lot of them are redundant, like TJ Ward signed and like 9 articles about TJ Ward comes out. I only need to read one.
Right. And they all say Buccaneers just signed TJ Ward. We'll have more for you later.
Yeah,
Right.
And then the next day it's like 3-time Pro Bowler, 1-time All-Pro. This is what happened in Denver. This is what he said at his press conference. Stroud, I would like to do Stroud. He always does a good job because he'll go a little more like background. Like I didn't know like he played for LaSalle. He didn't even start for LaSalle. I didn't know he was like he had any scholarship offers. I didn't know he had to walk on at Oregon. So. As a little hint to people out there, Rick Stroud always tends to go a little deeper than most. I guess, that's why he's the lead writer for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers for the Tampa Times or Tampa Bay Times. Anyway, so getting to see this and ingesting it and seeing those behind-the-scene things, I know that there's people out there that are were just stoked about it as I am, and even it was a distraction, I think I'm selfish enough to say I still would have wanted it.
I'm with you on that one. I wanted to see it. I really did. I was hoping that the Buccaneers would get it. I think what I was hoping is exactly what we got. I was hoping the Buccaneers would be on Hard Knocks, and it wouldn't be a distraction to the team. And it feels like that's the way it's been.
Agreed.
We got to see the team in a really good light. It wasn't shining pearls for 5 weeks either. Like it had its ups and its downs, but for the most part, I think the team came out in a really good light, and I'm pretty excited to see this season. I think like any other Bucs fan right now, we are all just super excited, not just because the season's back, but because we know what this team is capable of. We know what their potential is, and we're just excited to see it. So. Guys, with that, I think that's going to draw Talking Knocks to a close. Rand, I think the only other way that this show comes back is if the Buccaneers come back onto Talking Knocks, and if they wind up on what's that other show that they do on Amazon where they follow them for the whole season?
All In or Nothing.
Yeah.
All or Nothing.
All or Nothing. Yeah, that one. We might have a new show with that one if the Bucs happen to get picked for that for the next season. So,
we will not have that.
No.
Well, because it's an Amazon show and the whole season drops at once.
Oh, yeah. So we might do like a special show about the whole season or something. But,
hey, All or Nothing's on Amazon. See you guys later. Good night.
Right. One episode a night for the next 18 nights or whatever. Anyway, no, we will not do that. But, but guys, this is really going to wrap it up. So I want to say thank you to everybody who took the time to call in. I want to say thank you to everybody over the last 5 weeks who's joined us in the chat room at Mixlr. You guys are awesome. And I just want to encourage everybody, hey guys, listen, we're stepping into the regular schedule of the season now, not just with the team, but with us here at the PewterCast. On Sunday nights, 9 o'clock, we will be right here at mixler.com/the PewterCast with our InstantCast show, talking about the games. It's this very same format. And then later on in the week, we will have a full main episode where we're reviewing the game. We'll have all new top threes. We'll have guests throughout the season. We've got a couple of them lined up already, which is going to be super fun. We've got new music coming this season, which is really cool. We got a new logo, Ren. We rolled out a new logo here for the PewterCast last week.
I I saw it.
Yeah, so
I saw it out there.
So very cool. I'm actually happening to notice right now that our Mixlr logo is still the old logo, so I should change that. But yeah, but you guys, hey, listen, you guys want to get in touch with us here at the show? You can email us to thepewtercast@gmail.com. Follow us on Twitter @thepewtercast or on Facebook.com/thepewtercast. Ren, where can people get a hold of you if they want to talk with you personally about Buccaneers football?
Best way to find me is on Twitter, because Facebook's dead, at Rendax, REN_DAXT. Like I always say, I'm always down to talk Buccaneers football. I'm on Twitter probably as many hours as I'm awake. That's not true, but I'm on Twitter a lot. So, and I always respond. So if you have a question, I'll respond. If you comment, I'll respond. Sometimes it's just a heart, which means I agree with you, what you're saying. But yeah, if you're ever looking to want to talk, run some kind of like crazy idea or not so crazy idea, or like as in who's going to get cut, is Channing Ward coming back to the practice squad, and if they are, who's going to get out? I'll have that conversation with you on Twitter. Once again, at Rendax, REN_DAXT. And as Brett said earlier, I'll this season also be writing for the Peter Plank. And we have our own app, which is really cool. You can download it on your phone. It's a nice, easy, very clean app, not a big clunky one. And then also whatthebuck.net, Derek Fournier's podcast, fan group, and I don't know, whatever that charitable number he always says, 8010569.
501c3.
501c3.
Yep.
Yeah. So, they do a lot of good work, and I asked him if I could write for him this year, and he said yes, thankfully. So you can find me there. That was very long and drawn out, but that's the end. There
you go. And, hey, just one little extra plug. You guys can find me personally at Brent Allen Live on Twitter, or I don't believe that Facebook's dead, so you can find me on Facebook as well, facebook.com/Brent Allen Live. And one more time, find us at the Pewtercast across all the platforms. You guys can get us there. So until Sunday night, maybe not, probably not at this point. Listen, hey, if you guys are in Florida or anywhere along the coast, guys, be safe. Make sure you take all the preparations, and if you're ordered to get out or you want to get out beforehand, by all means, please get out of town, evacuate if it's possible for you. So stay safe, and hey guys, listen, here's to a great season of Tampa Bay Buccaneers football. And as we end every single show, we'll do it by saying, "Go Bucks."